Welcome all of you to our 2025 Classified Professional and Leadership Development webinar series. Before we start, I wanted to let you know that we do have closed caption options for you if you prefer or need to use it. Those of you who don't know me, I'm Ding-Jo Curry, Director of LIFT, which stands for Leadership Institute for Tomorrow here at Cal State Fullerton. Even though we're at Cal State Fullerton, our programs are all designed for community colleges. We offer a variety of programs from webinars to workshops and publications, Lift Your Voice, all of which, including this particular webinar series, are all sponsored by the California Community College Chancellor's Office in support of the Vision 2030 plans. The leadership development of classified professionals are critically important. A huge thank you to the California Community College Classified Senate board members for collaborating with me and the LIFT team in planning our webinars and for their valuable contribution to our webinar panels. Thank you so much. I really value and appreciate your partnership with LIFT on this. Classified professionals are the backbones of our education system here. You play a vital role that keeps students, departments, colleges, and the entire system running effectively. So your dedication, whether it's on the front line, behind the scenes, in offices, on maintaining our campuses, is absolutely indispensable to student success. So when you lack development or when you face challenges, the entire institution feels the strain. So you are essential. You are the connective tissue that holds everything together, ensuring our colleges are not only functioning smoothly, but also thriving and students well served. So our topic today is climbing the ladder, career growth strategies for classified professionals. And we designed the webinar for you to garner concrete advice from our panels to take steps to create career development plans. And you should also learn insights, challenges, and solutions for your advancement strategies. We will also unveil some mysteries and lift the veil so you too can know the unwritten rules of advancing your career. Lastly, knowing one thing, but possessing the essential skills to do that thing that's needed for your career advancement success is just as important. Is also key to build your capacity, whether it is your personal capacity as a person or at work as a professional. So I am just so glad that you joined us today, and let's learn together. So let me introduce our panelists for today. Faraz Asakarian is an executive and an entrepreneur. He's from outside of our system. He's an author of the book 7 Unwritten Rules of Advancing Your Career. Advice your boss will not tell you to achieve the career success you deserve. And we have already made the promise, if you saw on the flyer, that we're giving away his book to the first 50 registrants who are also attending here. So if you were the first 50 who register and you are here today, we have attendance list and we have registration list. So you will receive a free book from us. Secondly, we had Jamel Tier, and she is the facilities project coordinator at Peralta Community College District. And she's also the regional representative on the 4CS board. Thank you for joining us. And lastly, a brother I have known for many years, I respect so much and love dearly, and Dr. Scott Thayer, president of Cypress College. Welcome, all of you. This is an awesome panel, and I know that you will learn a lot from them. So I want you to take good notes and reflect as you uncover new insights. At the end of our webinar today, I may ask you to share one thing that you learned and one action that you will take as a result of sitting through our webinar today. So let's focus. I'm going to start with you, Jamil. You are a classified professional and you serve in the statewide leadership board representing your region. So, what is your general understanding and perception about classified professionals thinking about your career development plans? For example, do you have one and do you know others who have career development plans in mind?
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Happy to be here. So yeah, a career development plan is essentially a roadmap outlining career goals, steps for achievement. That said, many of my colleagues do not have a plan. Some have a general idea of what they'd like to accomplish. A lot of folks wait for opportunities to open and then decide to varying degrees of success what their plan is. When I started creating a career plan, it seemed like a large and really daunting task. And I can say that without a guide and templates or mentor, it really felt insurmountable. I do now have a plan though, and I've been through Lyft. So, thank you for that opportunity. And my plan currently consists of career goals for the next 5 years. So, hypothetically, I'm a project coordinator. In 5 years, I'd like to be a senior project manager. And so I'll spend the next 2 years gaining experience in project management. I'll also be working towards certifications, and then looking for roles that align with senior level leadership. So I know others who have plans that range from identifying one or two ideal positions to planning degrees or certificates, and growing their network for more opportunities. So those are some examples.
That's great. I can't say that I was that specific about my career plan 20, 30 years ago. So thank you. Now I'm going to turn to Faraz and Scott. I know that career development plans for different roles and divisions may vary, right? So what about this group of professionals? We call classified professionals in our educational system who may or may not have direct reports, right? And they are oftentimes in a supporting role. So they are also in so many different areas of college campuses, such as food service, they're in security, IT, back offices of accounting, and they also are in student and instructional support programs everywhere. So, how can they create a career development plan? And what steps to initiate one?
Dingjo, first, thank you so much for having me. I've been looking forward to our time and also to help people outside this call to with my name. I have a hard name to pronounce. You can call me Ferris, like the movie Ferris Bueller. It will not offend me. And if you haven't seen this movie, it's a great movie to watch, by the way. When it comes to career development plan, to me, it's like managing a long-term project. I have 5 steps that I've used throughout my career that paid me great dividends. The first step is you have to assess where you're at and you have to be honest with yourself. Are you where you need to be? Are you having the job that's satisfying? Once you do that, the next step is you have to decide where you want to go with your career. What's that next step look like? What that career path should be? What's that next role, department, group you have to go to? Once you do that, you have to sit down and do quick assessment. Do you have what it takes to get there? Do you have the knowledge? Do you have the skills? Do you have the experience? Do you have the certification, the license? And also you have to be honest with yourself on this step too. Then once you put those 3 steps behind you, you go on to write the action plan. Most people they skip the first 3 steps, they go straight to the action plan. That's why they fail. When you put together your action plan, you have to be very precise. You have to have actions on daily, weekly, monthly basis. You have to have milestones, target. You have to hold yourself accountable. What are the skill sets that you need to gain? The experience, the knowledge. Do you have to gain some, obtain some certificates, license? And once you do that, and you have this milestone, target-oriented, action-oriented plan, you move to the next step. Before you do that, before you go to the next step, you can also run this plan with other people, get second opinion, have people review it to hold you accountable to it. Once you do that, the last step is actually taking actions. That's where most people fail. If I ask anyone on this call what they want, 90% of people will tell me. People know what they want, but where they fail is in taking actions. So if you want to join the top 10% of people and advance your career, you have to be action oriented. I can go further and say in life in general, if you want to go further, you have to be action oriented. And the last comment, I'll leave you with this. You have to be open to fail because your plan day one might fail and you have to go up and down, pivot. Your career is not straightforward line. You're gonna, you're gonna fail at some point and you have to embrace that. So if you do a good job at embracing failure, you'll go further with your career too. So those are my 2 cents. I'm gonna pass the mic to Scott.
Yeah, thank you, Chris. Thank you, Dr. Curry. It's a pleasure to be here on this distinguished panel to talk about, I think, some practical application, kind of building on what Ferris just said. I think as we look at our roles, and I started as a classified professional at California community colleges, so it's given me a lens to be able to better understand how to navigate the space. I think the first thing is understand the role you're in. Do a good job in the position. And once you're able to do that, have a handle on the position, it allows you the opportunity to build your network. And so some of that can be within the framework that we have, participation on committees. So some roles you don't have exposure because it's very specific. You kind of mentioned some back office work. It could be, just different areas of our campus that don't get a lot of interaction with the rest of the campus community. So committee participation allows exposure for you as an individual. It allows you an opportunity to share your experiences and how it really supports the mission of the institution. We look at our constituents to make sure all voices are heard, acknowledged, and listened to in order to take steps to serve the campus. So I think that's one space that's internal, that is available. Also externally, there are organizations that a lot of us are a part of, personally, professionally. Those are good ways to start thinking about how is that going to help me develop the skills that I may need for the next position. So I think as we look at those steps, we look at that strategy, you create a plan. The things that you can look to are, one is the work that you're doing, do good work. Two, look at your structure on your campus. So volunteer, say that you're willing to participate in committee work, in events, planning, etc., things that are happening around your campus. I think once people see your willingness to do that, it only helps you as an individual build out your skill set. So it gives you the opportunity to then build upon the things you need to do in order to move to the next level of your career. But I think understanding your role in the position and then showing others what you bring forward, and having a positive attitude, a can-do attitude, really goes a long way. And just showing your availability, I think is critically important. There's some other things and some other questions we'll dig into, but I think those are some good steps to start with, and allow you to kind of showcase the skill set that you have and let people know you, right? Once people get an opportunity to meet you, they will form an opinion. And if you can showcase that you are here to support students, that is always a great foundational place to begin. And it gives people an introduction to who you are as a professional.
Thank you. And I know that having a plan sometimes, I can't say that I had a very specific plan in my career, zigzag along the way. But I think in that planning, I told myself just be open to opportunities, right? So I wanted to explore this next topic with the two of you, and that is that there are also a lot of myths, right? Things that people had told us that if you do this, then your career will advance. I wanted to ask the both of you that what are some of the career advancement myths that you are aware of, and what are your thoughts about them? So I'm going to give you a couple of examples. Actually, that's one example that I've been told and I believed in strongly, maybe even from my cultural background, and that is loyal to your boss, no matter what. If you're loyal to your boss, it's not only important, but because your boss will certainly recognize your effort and advance you. That's one myth. Or a timing is important for everything. If you miss your timing, that's it. Or if you take the timing right, then everything will turn out perfectly for job advancement. What do you have to say about the different kind of myths about career advancement?
No, that's a great question. The other one is people say, oh, if I come to work on time, I'm going to get promoted, right? I do my shift. I show up and I do the work I'm supposed to do. A friend of mine once told me, he asked a question of students, how many people believe they'll be promoted if you come to work every day, do the job you're supposed to do? A lot of people raise their hand. And his perspective was, that's what you're paid to do. So how do you do things to make yourself noticed? How are you able to showcase the skills that you have? And so you mentioned working hard and being a good employee. Those are baseline. That's important. But you also have to show a way to differentiate yourself, to highlight your value. And I think those are important traits that can be difficult, especially if you're coming from a background. I came from a student services background, and it was like, we're here to serve students. And at the end of the day, if the student is their needs are met, then I feel like I've done my job. The challenge with that is if people don't know what you're doing, you don't want to be the best kept secret on your campus, in your area, because then when the time comes for you to try to promote, nobody knows what you're capable of. And so I think it's important that one, you can show the work that you're doing, and that's through just different spaces. And that's why I mentioned having a broader area than just your specific area of work, so people can see you as a person who is always a lifelong learner, who's looking to help students, who's looking to support the mission of the institution. So you want to be able to do those types of things. People have done really good with social media. I'm not one of those people, but if done correctly, it can really help promote your brand. And so I guess when we're talking about promotion, and especially when you're looking to move upward, people need to be aware of what you're doing. They need to be aware of what you're about. Like when someone says your name, they say, oh yeah, they're associated with students or helping students. Those are good values to be attached to. And I think being, representative is important. So having connections to organizations, internal, external, and promoting, partially yourself. It's important, right? You want people to know your brand so that they can say, wow, I really want them to be a part of my team, because they're a team player. They're can-do attitude, and they're very supportive of the work that we're doing.
Actually, this is one of my favorite questions. I have quite few, but I'm going to shed the light on two. And then if we have time later on, I can share more. My favorite one is work hard, heads down, grind, and you'll get promoted.
Say
To
that
me,
again.
work hard, grind, and you'll get promoted. Working hard will get you a promotion. To me, this is one of the biggest lies we tell people at work. Working hard alone, it's not enough to get promoted. If it guarantee you one thing, it guarantee you staying where you're at. Because who wants to lose a good employee? Who wants to lose someone who grind and put in the hours and work hard? No one. To get promoted, you have to demonstrate, to Scott's point, that you can do more. You can lead at higher level. You can take on bigger responsibility. You can be strategic. Once you demonstrate these things, the people above you will start taking notes. They will start noticing you. But if you are just putting 90 hours behind closed doors, no one is seeing you, as Scott mentioned, that's not enough for promotion. Second one is, when we talk about risk, we always talk about outside risk. I'm going to invest in stocks. I'm going to take risk. I'm going to open my own company. I'm going to take risk. But actually, when it comes to career advancement, you have to take risk too. 15 years ago, I was a vice president at a major bank in the United States. My career on the outside looked great. The title, prestigious, money, you name it. But on the inside, deep down inside, I knew I was stuck. I didn't see a runway for myself. I didn't see my next step. So I decided to leave, and that's what I did. I left. I didn't leave on the spot. I put together a plan like the one I shared earlier and ended up leaving. Everyone around me thought I was insane, including my wife. She thought I was crazy for leaving a job like this. But now, 15 years after and looking back, it was the best risk I've taken. I learned new skill sets, experience, met people, work-life balance, compensation, you name it. And back then, 15 years ago, it was a risk I took. I wasn't guaranteed that my next step will be great, but I had to take risk. So I'm here encouraging everyone to think about risk also when it comes to your career advancement. There are times where you have to take risk. And as we all know, you take more risk, the reward is bigger. You can calculate your risk once in a while, but at some point, it's going to be just flat out risk. Those are the two top ones. If we have more time later, I can share more.
Okay, thank you. That will give us time. We're going to move into challenges and solutions and actual strategies. So, Jamil, you work with a lot of classified professionals on your campus and in your region, and also at the system level. What are some of the most common challenges that classified professionals face, when it comes to career advancement? Scott and Ferris, I would ask you to respond to one or two challenges that Jamil presents to us.
Sure. So there are a number that I've identified, but I'll share just a few here. So limited access to professional development, lack of clear career pathways, workload and time constraints, inadequate mentorship opportunities, limited networking opportunities, limited systemic barriers and inequalities, DEI, and then pay and benefit structures and cultural challenges.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
No, it is a lot. And I'll say the big one, I know for me, is mentorship. When I started on campus, somebody identified me and said, "Hey, I see something in you." And I was able to connect, and they provided me the opportunity to understand the culture of the institution. I think that is baseline. If you don't understand the culture you're in, you could step in things and put yourself in positions you didn't even know you were in, just based upon a misunderstanding of the culture of the organization that you're in. So the mentoring is critically important. I believe mentoring is invaluable for professionals as you're looking to navigate the space you're in, especially if you're a first generation professional. Right? We talk about first generation students, but first generation professionals, you don't have someone to help you navigate because this is new for you. And so mentorship is critically important. The network, I'll speak to that as well. If you can plug into different types of networks that will help you. Organizations have specific areas of organizations that support the work. So being a part of, if it's a local, regional organization, even on your campus, you have affinity group organizations, if it's Black faculty and staff, Latino faculty and staff, Asian Pacific Islander faculty and staff. These are organizations on your campus potentially to support you, but they also allow you an opportunity to build your network. And this is where you can navigate the politics if it comes forward, but it's a support group. And I think those are some areas that are really important to be able to identify so that you know what you're dealing with, especially in our spaces. A lot of times we get hired in a position and people only see us doing that job. So how do you change that narrative? How do you change that perspective? You need to broaden your perspective, get people in place that can help you navigate the space, and then get exposure to organizations internally and externally that will build your skill set so that you can showcase who you truly are and what you're trying to accomplish as you move up that career ladder.
I can relate to all these challenges myself. At some point in my career, I faced probably all of them. And Scott, funny, I wanted to talk about the two you talked about, so I'll share my 2 cents on it. But there is one close to the heart: is lack of clear career pathways. To me, to overcome this challenge, the responsibility falling on two people here. So if you are a leader who manage a team and listening to us today, I highly encourage you to incorporate a career pathing discussion with your team during 101, performance management, mid-year discussion. Find time to discuss with your team what they want and their needs. You might not have opportunities available to you today, but it's good to know what your team wants and needs. So when the opportunities become, you know exactly where to go to and how to connect the dots between what's available within the organization and what your team wants. At the same time, the other side, we employee, you and I and everyone here, if my boss is not talking to me about my performance management or about my career path, I should bring it up myself. In every one-on-one mid-year discussions, I should bring it up and tell people what I want and ask questions and ask for help. The worst assumption we can make as employees ever in our career is assuming our bosses, they know what we want. That's a bad assumption, my friends. Don't assume that, and always tell people around you what you want. Ask for help. Make sure it's clear and remind them your boss always is busy. They have a lot on their plate. Sometimes they're navigating politics, they work on a project, they are busy day in, day out. So sometimes they might overlook your career. So I highly encourage you to bring this up in the conversation and ask questions. I want to just add my voice to Scott. Informal mentoring opportunities and network that I built myself has been more effective than any formal program I've been through in my entire career. I worked for so many companies and departments and groups where there was no formal opportunities. So I had to build it myself. I actually wrote an article a couple of months ago on the steps I used to take to build those network. Every year until today, I pick one or two people within my organization and I seek their help. I ask them about their career, what they've done. I ask them to informally mentoring me, and it's been paying me dividends and ROI like anything else, more than anything else in my career. So I couldn't add more weight to this point that Scott made earlier.
Can I add one more thing about professional development? I think, Cross, to your point too, the organizations, some specifics. You have Amend, you have Colegas, you have Apahi. I mean, these are in California and beyond. You have NASPA. There's a lot of organizations that are specific to your area of expertise or areas that you're aspiring to be involved in. And I think, on campus, understand where those opportunities reside so that you can apply. So it's understand the groups that you're a part of, what is available to you, and then utilize it. Some campuses will have opportunities for educational advancement. That's going to help you professional. So I think those professional development, is listed, as Jamil said, as a challenge for some, but there's avenues within our structure. So make sure you're clear on what that is. And to Frost's point, be clear on what you want and articulate that to the rest of the campus, to your supervisor, so they know you want to do more and this is your goal for the next 3 to 5 years. And the hope is you can find people that will say, hey, I want to help you get there.
That's great. Both of you mentioned the importance of mentoring. And that's at the individual level, that it's important to find someone who could steer and help guide, right? Provide some different perspectives for you. That's wonderful. And then collectively, you all mentioned also networking, going out there in the professional circles. And I know a lot of times classified professionals are not going to these organizations, these conferences and meetings. So that's a great advice. I would just want to circle back to Jamel. You feel, is there anything that's kind of left you would like to have an answer right now? Back to the challenges, because you have a long list.
I did have a long list. And I think a lot of some of these have been touched on, cultural and structural challenges. Dr. Thayer, you talked about sort of understanding the culture and having a mentor. There are other things though, like workload and time constraints. How would you suggest that folks get around some of those?
Would you like to address that? Workload, time constraints.
Yeah, that's a definitely one. So trying to figure out that balance can be challenging. And that, I think earlier, talking about having a conversation about what you're trying to accomplish. I've always been open to any employee that I've had when they talk to me about, I want to go back to school. So we talk about how we can make that work within the structure on our campuses. And that's to the point earlier. You have to articulate what you're trying to do. You know, we're an institution of higher ed, so we're trying to help people advance. And so if you don't share it, we don't know, and therefore we can't help within the constructs that we have. But that one is difficult, especially because of our, we have contracts which are great. It helps us. It's a framework. It's the guide. But as an individual, I was always willing to say, hey, how can I volunteer or do more? And I'm not saying we should be volunteering as a set thing, but volunteering as a way to make yourself better. That's the approach I took. I took on opportunities outside of the scope of the work that I was assigned to do because I wanted to do more and I needed experience. So I was always thinking, not thinking about the job I have, I'm thinking about the job I want. So what are the skill sets that I can acquire through either direct work or through exposure on campus? The good news is there's a lot of things happening on the campus that are outside of what my responsibility was, but I leverage that in order to get to the next job.
That's great. Thank you, Scott. For us, I'm going to turn to you because we're going to explore some of those unwritten rules that, behind the scene that people may not know about. So your book, 7 Unwritten Rules for Advancing Your Career, and advice, I think it was suggestions that your boss would not tell you to advance the career success. So help us uncover those unwritten rules of advancing one's career. And I know it's all in your book. So can you please reveal just a few of those key unwritten rules that you discussed in the book? And yeah, I know that you can't cover them all. So just highlight a few. And I encourage people to read your book. 50 of our attendees today will get your book.
Thank you so much. In the spirit of not ruining the book so people can enjoy it. And actually, if you ended up reading the book and you want to chat with me later on, my door is always open for you. You know how to find me. Just ping me and I'll spend time with you. But here are a few tips from this book that worth mentioning. The first one is, and also my favorite one, your career advancement is your responsibility. It's the only responsibility you cannot delegate to other people. The minute you do, the minute your career is going nowhere. Yes, you can work with your boss, you can build a network, you can find a coach, but at the end of the day, you're the one who should be calling the shots. You should be the one who making the decisions. There are times in your career where you will want someone to make a decision for you. But I'm here to remind you that the ownership is on you. Always take ownership. Steer your career. Drive it. Don't give it to anyone else. Because the minute you do, your career is going nowhere, based on my experience at least. The second one is, we always talk about networking. Me and Scott, we spoke about this one, but we always talk about networking outside work. We all have heard this, you are the average of the 5 people you hang out with. But actually, networking at work also important. It applies inside work. I can't tell you how much important to build relationships and networking with people at work. Believe it or not, the biggest or 2 biggest promotions I received in my career, they came from my informal networking. And here's the trick for everyone. Don't wait until you need those relationships. Build them as you go. Cultivate them. So whenever you need something, they are there for you. And the network that you build, they become your advocate. They will become your mentors. They will support you. When that promotion comes, they will give you a hand. I can't talk enough about networking. It's an extremely important one. And last but not least, you have to have a growth mindset. And you have to work on your self-confidence. Nothing can kill your career than having limited beliefs. In the book, I expand on it more and more. But there was a study done a few years ago, and they have found that 80% of people who don't advance their career, they actually lack of self-confidence. People walk around the office, they lack self-confidence, they don't believe in themselves, they don't believe they can do certain things, they don't take on big opportunities, they don't speak up because they lack of self-confidence. So if you are suffering or struggling with this, I highly encourage you to speak up, seek help, ask people around you. And the good news, having a growth mindset and having this self-confident, those are skill set. You can gain them and build them. Like for example, if you want to have a great body, you go to the gym 6 days a week, and over time you look great. Similar to growth mindset and self-confidence. I was one of the people who I lacked self-confidence 20 years ago, and I felt I was stuck. So until I acknowledged it and I worked on it and fixed it, my career did not move until I fixed that. So I highly encourage you with this one in particular to speak up, because this is one of the things people don't talk about. No one comes to you tell you that, hey, I lack self-confidence. No one is comfortable. But you know yourself. You know if this is something you're struggling with. Speak up. There is lots of help out there. And I'll leave you with this thought. I can't tell you how many times before I go on the stage for my keynote speaking, before I go through interviews or big project, behind closed doors, I do self-talk. I tell myself I can do it. I'm good at it. No one more qualified than me. I pump myself. I mean this sincerely. So sometimes you have to show up for yourself and practice that confidence until you have it. So those are three, rules or things from the book. And I hope you guys enjoy it. And if you do read it and you want to chat about it, I am open anytime.
Thank you, Faraz. Scott, you have been serving in leadership roles for decades now, since your first supervisory job. Based on your experience, what's the best advice you can give to a staff person who has no idea how to begin to navigate working with their boss or their colleagues, or as Faraz says, building that network at work?
No, yeah, that's a great question. I think it's important to do really good work. Be known for the work that you do. And what I mean by that is if you become the expert, you become the go-to person that people will say, I need this accomplished, I'm going to you. That can go a long way. With employees that I've been fortunate to work with, when I know that they have a skill set within the role, I can depend on them not just to deliver that work, but be excellent at it and bring ideas forward to me, recommendation to say, this is maybe a better way for us to do this within the scope of the work. It allows for the individual to be creative and present ideas, but it also within, the structure that we have, to showcase what they're able to do. I think that is critically important. Being open to learning, I think is always a good trait. Frost mentioned this idea of imposter syndrome, right? We think, oh no, we are not adequate enough. We are not capable enough. But I think we need to take ownership of the things we do well and uplift those. And so once you get that reputation of being the go-to person for the thing on your campus, right? And I think you can identify if it's structurally, if it's deliverables, if it's, whatever that thing is, you want to be known that way. And I mentioned social media earlier, that can be a double-edged sword. So just be aware of things that you're putting out publicly, especially when you're thinking of how you're perceived, the brand that you are portraying. But being an asset and also that can-do attitude that I mentioned earlier, I think is so important for anyone who is looking to be promoted, to be uplifted, and to really showcase your skill set. Because we value excellence and just make sure that you're producing the things and showing your value, I think is so important.
I really like the concept that you brought to everyone's attention about branding, right? I often ask people, well, what's three words that represent your brand? That means when your name is mentioned, do you think people would automatically think of those three words that you want to brand yourself with, right? Whether it's excellence or trustworthy or integrity. So I think that branding concept, doesn't matter what level and what work you do, it's so important to bring it and being very intentional about building your brand. You also mentioned imposter syndrome. I wanted to just do a little plug because we have covered imposter syndrome in our past webinar as well as mentoring. So if any of you out there, you missed the webinar on those topics, and it's brought up today how important it is, including mentoring. Go back to our webinar recordings and view some of those recordings from the past topics. Okay, I'm going to move into something that is concrete. When the rubber meets the road, you can talk about networking and working and building excellence and branding. It takes concrete skills. It takes a lot of essential skills to build these career successes, right? So, Jamil, I wanted to turn to you and that what skills have you used in your own career advancement and also achieve, leadership at the system level, being on the 4CS board, representing your region. This is different from strategies or approaches. This is concrete skills that you use, right, to move you forward.
Absolutely. So, I think when we're talking about skills for career advancement, it's a little bit different than strategies and approaches, as you've mentioned. Skills are more the knowledge, the ability, and the expertise needed to do the current role to prove that you're ready for the next step. And so, in terms of career skills, I've always tried to gain knowledge in a couple of areas, be them technical, specifically for facilities in my current role, soft skills like communication and then industry knowledge and emotional intelligence. Some specific examples that I've used are building strong communication skills and being able to tailor my message depending on if I'm speaking to administrators, classified professionals, or students. Gaining knowledge in community college and figuring out best practices. And one of the ways that I've been able to tap into that is through my work with the 4CS board, developing an understanding of facilities, which for me is the technical piece of my job. And then like Ferris and Scott said, volunteering in projects to develop breadth in other areas of the community college system. So I've used all of these to sort of ensure competency in my role and to open doors for new roles and increase my confidence in the skills that I'm gaining.
Great. Well, Faraz and Scott, would you please also talk about these essential skills that you believe that are important and how to acquire those skills to build successful career ladder? Jamel just talked about communication. Okay, I understand communication is an important skill. How do I go about building communication skills as an example? So tell us about what skills and how do we acquire those skills?
No, great question. I think active listening, right? A lot of times we want to respond, so we're just waiting our turn instead of actually listening to what is being stated. That I think is a critical skill. Listening is a powerful tool, and sometimes it's better to say less, absorb it, and then people can work through some of the things just by being a good listener. You mentioned communication. I think, and I like the way you talked about the different groups you're speaking to. I always talk about translating to the audience who you're speaking to, just to kind of a different spin on how you stated that. Know your audience, know what they value, so that you can speak to those values within the concepts that you're presenting. So I think that's important, and it's important to understand the spaces we're in, so that we can be effective in communication. And then interpersonal skills. We spend a lot of time at work. People want to enjoy the time that they spend at work. So have an understanding of how we can, work together, that interpersonal skill set, right? The unspoken things, making sure that are cordial, right? Making sure that we're civil. I mean, these are things that are reminders, but sometimes, we bring ourselves and to work, and maybe we had a bad day, but we got to remind ourselves, hey, now we're in a space with let's come into it with good intention. Let's come into it giving people the benefit of the doubt, and let's come into it with the sense of wanting to make it the best space possible. So I think those are things that are critically important: interpersonal skill set, active listening, communication and translation to the audience you're speaking to.
That's awesome. I cannot agree more with you, Scott and Jamel. Interesting. My answer to this question has changed over the years because things are evolving. But there are a couple of skill sets that remained with me from day one. I always lean on them. The first one is adaptability. We always work in a consistent changing environments. Technology stack is changing, SOPs are changing, job descriptions and roles, responsibilities are changing. So leaders and companies today, they're looking for employees who adapt well. Not only adapt to the change, but embrace the change and help them make the change. So if you are struggling with making changes, I highly encourage you to take a step back and reconsider. And this is, you don't need tools. You don't need to read about this one. It's a mindset. How can you approach changes with open mindset that you want to try new things? You want to try different ways to do things. So it's a mindset more than anything else. And it's a skill set. The more you adapt to changes, the more you go with the changes, the easier it becomes. Every time I go through a change, the first question I ask myself, how can I make this happen? Before I ask why it happened to me, why I'm a victim here, why this is happening, I don't ask those questions. I ask myself, why? How can I make this happen? And once I figure this out, sometimes I go back and ask myself why this happened to me. So being adaptive is extremely important. Your career will thank you the moment you become more open to changes. The second one is to Scott and Jamil, they talked about communication, but I'm going to double click on this one. The art of telling your story. I'm not talking about telling a story once upon a time. I'm talking about often enough we are at projects, we have to present slides, we have to debrief people. Sometimes you have to tell your story in the interview, why people should hire you, what's your value prop, why people should listen to you. This art of telling a story, it's actually a skill set. You have to develop this one. I can't tell you in 20 years, I interviewed probably 3,000 employees. There are thousands of people qualified for the job, but they fail in the interview. And why they fail? Because they fail to tell their story. They fail to articulate why they are good fit for this job. They fail to articulate how their skill set and background and experience will allow them to do the new job. So as you grow your career, you can remember me with this one. You will need this skill set more and more. Today, I am the head of my group. 50% of my time, I'm telling stories all day long. Stories about my projects, my team, my initiatives, you name it. So if I can go back and tell Faraz 20 years ago, what to work on, it will be the skill set. The good news, there are so many books out there, courses. And actually, I think, Joe, after this webinar, I'm going to send you a few articles and resources you can share with people that I did myself to help me improve in this area. I really, 20 years ago, I struggled to tell a story. I struggled to present one slide. I struggled to tell my story during interviews until I worked on it and I was able to put my arms around it. And I know for the sake of time, the last one I'll share with you, this is just came up in the past 24 to 36 months. Leveraging OpenAI tools, it's becoming extremely important. OpenAI is here. It has challenged the workspace. And it's making changes so rapidly, I can't put my arms around it. The employees who leverage OpenAI tools are having an edge over the people who don't. 5 years ago, it used to take me 5 days to analyze complex data. Today, in 5 minutes, I can copy and paste the same data into ChatGPT and get my answers. So if you are on the sideline wondering if you should jump in and learn more about OpenAI and understand what's happening, it's the time to do it. Don't get too much behind. I'm not a fan when people talk about OpenAI is going to change my job or replace me. I'm not a fan of this. Because maybe in 2-3 years, 5-10% of jobs will be replaced by OpenAI. That's a fact. But what I am behind, someone who uses OpenAI could easily replace me if I don't. And I'm not saying this apply to everyone on this call. I'm saying that I'm seeing it in the marketplace that open AI tools are rapidly changing how we do things. So if you forget everything I mentioned today, don't forget this one. YouTube videos out there, Google search, every platform we use today, it has OpenAI component to it. So open your eyes, embrace this change, adapt to it, and your career will thank you for it in a few years.
Thank you. That's quite a lot that both of you had given. And I'm so glad you mentioned the AI new skills in career advancement. In maybe you don't need it in your current job, but the next time you interview for a job in the next level, how are you using AI as a tool to help you to be much more effective and or efficient? I'm going to give another plug from Lyft. We were able to get free Embracing the AI Revolution micro-credential program for classified professionals and everyone in the California Community College. And this credential usually is costly about $995. So please don't miss the opportunity. It's free to all of you until end of August this year. So you have spring semester. AI has become an essential skill. So that's another skill set that has emerged, right, into our daily and our professional life. So thank you for bringing that to our attention. Uh, well, if there's in no la, is there any of you have a last minute comment before I wrap this up? That for
You know,
career advancement?
yeah, I would say, I guess the last thing is know what you're a part of. And what I mean by that is, we have a mission of the institutions that we work at. And I believe we need to live the mission, understand what you're a part of, read your mission statement, and contribute to that. We got into education for a reason, and that is to serve, to help others. In California Community Colleges as an open access institution, every single person who participates on our campus plays a critical role in supporting our students. That's a message I share broadly across our campus, because every point of contact is an opportunity. And our classified professionals are usually that first group that invites students onto campus. And that's so important. And so just understanding what you're a part of, the value you bring to the organization is critically important. So when we show up, the best version of ourselves, we live the mission, and we make a difference in the lives of these students who are trying to change their lives. So just a reminder and a thank you to all the work that you all are doing, because it's critically important, and we couldn't do it without our classified professionals.
Yeah.
Ah,
I'll add my voice to Scott. A beautiful word, Scott. You motivated me. After 24 years at corporate, growing my career from the entry level to the executive, one thing I learned that the only person who knows your true value and what you truly value, what you truly can bring to the table is you. It's your responsibility, as Scott mentioned, to own it, define it, and get everyone around you to see it. That's what we call branding, telling your story. You owe it to yourself. No one can do it for you. People can help you, people can support you, hold hands, but at the end of the day, it's your responsibility. Own it, and you will go further in life and in your career as well. Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed this time. I wish we had more time, but good times always go by quickly.
absolutely.
And
Thank
I would,
you.
sorry, quickly echo that and just say absolutely classified professionals are the backbone of our community college system. We typically are with institutions for a long period of time. We hold a lot of historical knowledge and we have a lot of creativity and ingenuity. So I would just say, no matter what's happening at your campus or your college district, keep that creative sort of outlook. Keep looking at ways to sort of re-engineer your job, right, and your organization, and to really just take advantage of opportunities to participate strategically across the districts you work in.
Great. Well, thank you. Please help me thank our wonderful panels again today. And I challenge you to action. listening for an hour is not enough. It's really important that you commit yourself to one action, to something that you have learned today that you're going to start doing. Be much more intentional. So I also wanted to take the opportunity to let you know that we have free webinars all through this spring semester. And also, please share your takeaways with your colleagues who are not here with us. And if you benefited from today's webinar, so please recruit your colleagues too to join next month on March 14. We'll be talking about navigating office politics in the workplace. And so we don't want you to miss out. And also evaluation. Myra, you're going to put in the evaluation survey in the chat. So we need your feedback to know you learned. So this evaluation is very important to us. It's an opportunity for us to reflect and to improve in our future webinars for you. I want to also open up the chat box right now in the last couple of minutes. Myra, can you open up the chat box? And if you have something that you learned today, your insight, or something that one action you said, I'm going to do this, would you share it with everyone? Because we also learn from each other. Your insight, that what you got out of today, when you share it, when you read someone else's insight, that's another piece of added bonus in your learning outcomes. So feel free to share your learning outcomes from today in this session. And I want to thank our panelists again, Ross, Scott, and Jamel. Thank you so much for joining us. And also a special shout out to Myra Mario for her work. She's behind the scenes. She's our program manager. A lot of times you hear from her from Lyft. So I want to thank her for her work and all of the support for making our webinar successful. We will send you the recordings so you can share with your colleagues. And with that, we're going to close out for today's webinar and just wish you a great year ahead in 2025. And we'll see you again on March 14.